I'm giving you the time. If you can't do it tonight, if you can't give us any arguments, then we will note that. But let me put up on the screen again for your rebuttal, if you want to take this time, election fraud in Georgia. If you request or attempt to cause another person to engage in voter fraud, that's criminal solicitation. If you conspire or agree with another to commit a violation, that is another Georgia statute. Those are both felonies. Those are just two, and there are, as you know, others. Donald Trump, post-December 14th, I'll give you the widest possible berth that before it's certified, there are arguments that could be theoretically made about alternate electors. But post-December 14th, he's on tape doing it. We have a new call we learned about in the last week demanding it. How is that not soliciting or conspiring fraud?
Yeah, so Ari, I'm familiar, my team is familiar with all those statutes. And while I'm looking at this camera, I could tell you we're incredibly familiar with those statutes. They aren't new to us. We do a lot of political cases.
Sure.
We are absolutely confident, having looked at the evidence, that our client has not violated any of those. We're not going to look at it two-dimensionally. We're going to look at it three-dimensionally.
What did he mean when he said fine?
And he's completely innocent.
But what did he mean when he said find votes that don't exist after certification? What could that possibly mean other than find votes that don't exist?
Well, I will say this, and that is that, again, looking at the entire 62 minutes, putting it all in context, there was nothing illegal said by our client, nothing. And so anybody that wants to listen to 62 minutes will know that that was a perfectly legal phone call.
Let me ask you as well about also part of this case, because you've discussed the DA. They've also sent notice that they may indict people on elector fraud. That's people who quite blatantly were planning to lie to the government to commit elector fraud, pretend they were electors. I've got the AP here. Georgia fake electors could face charges. 16 Republicans who served as fraud or fake electors signed a certificate falsely declaring then President Trump had won the 2020 presidential election, declaring themselves the state's, quote, duly elected qualified electors. Here's what another Trump lawyer, Boris Epshteyn, said about that. Not exactly a denial. Take a listen. Did you ever make calls like that regarding what you're calling these alternate electors?
I was quoted in the Washington Post in the last 24 hours. Yes, I was part of the process to make sure there were alternate electors for when, as we hoped, the challenges to the seated electors would be heard and would be successful per the 12th Amendment of the Constitution and the Electoral Count Act.
Drew, this is one of the things that is at issue in the case and also led to, of course, in part, the later insurrection. Do you acknowledge that Donald Trump lost Georgia and people telling the government they were the duly elected electors were lying?
Yeah, so Ari, I am not going to start getting into political statements. I stay in my lane.
This is about the case.
What I will tell you about what I will but I will tell you about the elector issue is the elector issue is decimated by the fact that this judge removed this district attorney's office from handling part of that case, which, as far as we know, there's no law in the country which would support that, which is a reason why this district attorney's office, unfortunately, should be removed from the case. It went right to the heart of the elector issue.
And you've gotten time to make that, and we reported on that attack on the DA. But do you acknowledge that Donald Trump lost?
But that's what I stay focused on.
Do you acknowledge that Donald Trump lost the Georgia election?
I am.
That's an easy one. Do you acknowledge that, Drew?
No, I'm focused. Let me tell you what I'm focused on. I'm focused on being a criminal defense attorney and seeing that my client is being swept up in what has, to me, been a ridiculous circus atmosphere, special purpose grand jury.
No, and you made that point, but
not only in this case, but on other cases.
You made that point, but do you acknowledge?
I'm not going to sit there.
Do you acknowledge?
But Ari,
do you acknowledge that he lost the state of Georgia?
You can talk to other political people. Why would we even talk about that? What does that have to do? What does it have to do with me defending President Trump in this matter? It has zero to do with it.
I appreciate it. All right, you've raised a rhetorical question. What does that have to do? Let's listen to Donald Trump lying to people, some of whom later committed crimes, some of whom other Republicans committed the potential crime of misleading the government about who were the duly stated electors of Georgia, which, of course, the current president, President Biden, won. Here's Donald Trump talking about Georgia. Take a listen.
You know, we won Georgia, just so you understand. They cheated and they rigged our presidential election, but we will still win it.
That was December 2020. That was a lie, and it was, in concert with these other things, a lie that induced these people to submit this elector fraud, which may or may not be charged, and which, as of January 6th, they were trying to bring some of that in different states, not Georgia, by the way, to the floor of the Senate that was been uncovered. So again, I want to give you one more chance on that. When you say you don't know why it's relevant, that's, to me, the most charitable way I can put it, Drew, is that's confusing, because what's relevant is the entire point that he lost the election and got people to submit false material to the government and everywhere else, or conspire to do so, and that's a potential crime.
Now, so Ari, let me tell you, because what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to be a hypocrite and I'm not going to be disingenuous. When I talk about prosecutors who I know very, very well, okay, and have great relationships with, but when I call and say and file something that they went down the political avenue and that has no place in this case, I'm not going to turn around and start being political, because then I'm a hypocrite for everything that I put in 50 pages. So respectfully, I appreciate you bringing that up. And
I
it's your show.
appreciate
You
that
get
you
to throw the
appreciate
questions
it.
out.
I do appreciate being on the show, but I got to tell you, Drew.
But I'm not going political.
I got to tell you, because
I'm not going political.
I'm giving you time, and I'll give your colleagues time, and we'll have you back. But it is not accurate.
Absolutely.
But this is a case about trying to steal an election. Ascertaining the facts of that is not quote unquote political. It is the beating heart of the center of this case, because Donald Trump lied about it. And it seems today that you have an inability to acknowledge that he lost the state of Georgia, which is odd, because you know he lost the state of Georgia. We all know that.
I don't have an inability to do anything. I have the ability to tell you what I think was in the scope of the questions that I'll answer regarding the filing of 50 pages motion and 400 pages of exhibits about concerns that we have.
I think you'd agree we covered that.
About a special purpose grand jury. Nothing, right, understood. But nothing in that is political from our vantage point. In fact, we call out folks for being political, so I'm not going to be disingenuous and start being political. I'm going to talk about the facts that are contained in there, right? And I'm not going to be put in a position where I have to make one claim or another claim. I am, as you know, you pointed out my relationship to the bar, deeply committed to my profession and deeply committed to the Constitution, and nothing about that has to do with those facts that you're talking about. And I get you're asking the questions. I get it. I totally get it.
That's part of the job. This is a big issue.
Not what
I understand. I'm gonna wrap it up this way. That's a big part of the job, obviously. I appreciate you coming on. In our reporting, we've checked with you before. You're willing to come on, given that you did the filing. We covered the filing. I think the other questions are, of course, germane to the case. But people have heard your side, which is an important part of everyone learning about this. So, and I mentioned your background. So, Drew Findling, I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.